and it's Energumene opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumene by.
Boylesports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boylesports, this is betting.
Hello and welcome back to episode number 51 of the Champ.ie podcast for the season. We're heading for 100 episodes, Mr. Groome, coming fast for those for the century, as you called it yesterday. We're back to preview day 4 of the Punchestown Festival. You're in the car ready to head into Punchestown. Looking forward to day 3?
Very much so. I'm just looking out on the track in front of me here, the expansive land. Obviously it's pretty early here, but still a few people around already. 3.5 hours before the first race, so good buzz around the place. Yesterday I was here yesterday as well. Nice weather, and looking forward to another good days of racing.
In the draw today, I have 5 names. So I have Brian Walker, Paul Lenihan, I have Stevie Boyd, Cal ZFC, and Conor McCafferty. All had over 3 winners or more. So get involved once again for day 4. You will see all the races up on screen. 8 races that we're going to look at here on this episode, and looking ahead to Punchestown Day 4, of course, the Friday of the meeting, and to qualify for the Boylesports Chalice, Mr. Groome, you must have 3 winners or more. So let's crack on with the preview of day number 4. And the 340, look, it's not a race, Ronan, we were speaking off air. Either of us have a strong opinion on, so we're going to move on swiftly from this. And the first race we're going to look at is the 4:15. So it's novice handicap chase. WillieMullins, Paul Townend would have had his pick here. Lots of handicap debutants. Anything stand out for you amongst the field?
Yeah, I'm going to take an angle on the race now, and I just think there's a good trend to this race recently with WillieMullins winning the last 4. 3 of the renewals he won them with the top weights, like the class kind of angle, like he won it with Asterion Forlange, Kemboy. I can't recall the other one off the top of my head that was top weight, but that's the kind of angle I'd be looking to take. And obviously he's got 3 in there with the same sort of profile, but it's obviously significant that Paul Townend is riding Kilcrush ahead of Adamantly Chosen and Authorised Art. But Kilcrush is, look, he hasn't lived up to the reputation he made for himself as a bumper horse, but I don't think that should be held against him, and he's in here off a mark of 148. When you take into account he's been running against the likes of Mighty Potter and Jerry Colombe and getting reasonably close to them, I think he has a bit of class angle here, and it's obviously significant that Paul Townend rides him. Like, I was interested in a couple down the weights, like Grandero Bello. Life in the Park actually was a Punchestown Festival winner last season. But I just think there's a strong angle here, and it hasn't been lost on Willie. He's running all 3 of his decent novices here up at top weight, and Paul Townend obviously going for Kilcrush. He only has 3 starts, lots of scope to improve, and this probably represents a significant drop down in the task he's been handed with this season. So I think he's a pretty strong choice here.
Yeah, me as well, Ronan. Very sweet on him. I suppose 7-2. I can't see that lasting. You mentioned Willie's record in the race. This smells like a bit of a plot for Willie. I mean, he was on many people's list going to Cheltenham for either the plate or the Ultima. But I think 2.5 miles is probably more his trip. I mean, his chasing debut, I think he beat Willie Wampus in a 3-runner race around Punchestown. But I thought he jumped very well. I mean, he's only had 3 starts over fences, but his jumping is very, very good. You mentioned, you're talking Jerry Colombe up as a potential Gold Cup horse for next season. 6 lengths second to him at Christmas. That looks good form. And his Punchestown record as well. He's 3 from 4 at Punchestown. 3 wins from 4 starts at Punchestown. Loves the course. And the ground is drying out, Ronan, as well, which I think is going to suit him. That's going to suit him more than soft ground, in my view. Interesting, even just, Kilcrush as a horse. He's a very light-framed horse. So, to obviously he's coming in here fresh to the race. He's quite an easy horse to keep fit, let alone get fit. So I think that little break is probably going to do him good. And coming in here for a fresh horse, 148, loads of scope off that mark. He's just 3 pounds higher than his hurdles mark. So I'd be like you, Ronan, be quite sweet on Kilcrush in that 4:15. 4:50 contest is, of course, the Mayor's Chase. A lot of people will see this as a match between, I suppose, Impervious and Allegory Devasti when they look back at the Cheltenham form. But Honesty threw her name into the mix, and I thought she was good at Fairyhouse. But for me, Allegory Devasti, I was very disappointed how she finished out her race at Fairyhouse. And I'd see Impervious as definitely the one to beat here.
Very much so, and I would have favoured Impervious to hold the form with her, even taking away the Fairyhouse run, the disappointing effort at Fairyhouse by Allegory Devassi, which, granted, I don't think she was at her best there. I think she came down a bit for Onsty to beat her. The one question I have with Impervious is, and I don't know if you share this view, but you would be slightly worried if the ground was a bit on the quick side for her. It's probably more coincidental. She's just soft ground this season. All of her runs. So you couldn't say for sure she wouldn't handle a quicker surface, but I think it'd be fine. I think it'll be something like Good Deal. There's a lot of rain around today. I think they're due to get around 8 mils. So it'll just keep it fine for her. And like, she's a top class mare. At Cheltenham, I was delighted to see her win for Brian Hayes and Colin Murphy. It looked for all the world like Allegory Devassi was just going to go past her there, and she showed real determination to see her off. She's obviously won at Punchestown already. She beat Journey with Me here earlier in the season, giving him £1. Didn't have her allowance in that race, and she looks pretty solid here to end what's been a really good season for herself, JP and Colin Murphy and Brian Hayes. So I hope she can get the win. Yeah,
of course, she's unbeaten over the larger obstacles. 4 from 4 over fences. She won her novice hurdle actually on good to yielding ground. So I think if it dries out. I asked Brian Hayes that question when he was on the podcast. It was the one question I wanted to ask him about Impervious was, all her wins seem to be on softer ground. If it turned up quick at Cheltenham, he didn't have that concern whatsoever. He said ground not going to be an issue to her. So I can see on paper, you're looking at that and you're thinking, how will she handle, quicker surface? I think she'll be fine on that. And just looking, I suppose, her biggest attribute is how she finishes her races and how she attacks her fences. Obviously, there was massive performance when, of course, she was given weight to Journey with Me at Punchestown. It was heavy ground over 2.5. I think she takes all the beating here again, and I just would be very disappointed as an Allegory Devassi fan how she finished at Cheltenham and how she finished her race at Fairyhouse. And I think you're absolutely spot on. I think she came down in terms of her performance level at Fairyhouse from her Cheltenham run. So the one thing in her favour, I suppose, she's going back right-handed, and I think a little bit of nicer ground might suit her as well. So, but for me, Impervious, £4 clear on ratings. I think she's a snug winner here of the 450 at Punchestown. Looking at the champion hurdle, Ronan, I mean, I don't know what you talk about Stateman's run at Cheltenham. I was just wondering, did he run to form or did he not? For me, I'm not sure if he ran his best race at Cheltenham.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, actually. I was surprised you say that, because I was surprised recently when I was speaking to Paul Townend for the big interview for the Irish Field that 2 weeks ago. And I invited him to I was more asking him the question thinking I wanted to get his insight on racing against Constitution Hill. So I was more or less inviting him to be like, to give me an insight into racing against Constitution Hill and basically say how good Constitution Hill was. But he kind of surprised me with his answer. He thought that Stateman, he was a bit disappointed with him on the day and hoped to get closer to him and didn't think that it was his actual best performance on the day, which is quite interesting, because on form it just looked like he'd ran his race there, Stateman, and just bumped into a monster and still held his form to a good level by beating everything else comfortably. But it's interesting that you shared that view and Townend, who's rode the horses, feeling that he's a bit better than what he showed there. In any case, we just weigh up all his form against what he's done this season. He's the ultimate professional. He gets to the front, does enough, and he wins. He's a dual winner, a Grade 1 winner at Punchestown. It's really hard to see him get beaten here, to be honest. People might go off Zana here only has 4 pounds or 4 lengths to fine with him, but Zana here was ridden more quietly in the champion hurdle, whereas Stateman was rode to win the race. There wasn't any messing around there. He made his ground in the hottest part of the race trying to chase Constitution Hill, whereas Zana here probably came through a bit later for third. I think he's rock solid here, to be honest, at 2s on. I think that sort of price is arguably a decent price for him. I think he should go and win his 4th Grade 1 of the season.
He should, and he done the double, of course, last season going to Cheltenham and backed it up at Punchestown as well. So wouldn't have those concerns with him. The one thing maybe for betting purposes, Ronan, that I was looking at was potentially maybe a match bet or betting without the favourite. And of course, Boylesports, our sponsors, have the money back as second to the SB favourite. So with that in mind, I mean, Sharjah is a horse that has been to all the dances in the second half of the season. He's been to Cheltenham, he's been to Aintree. and he was only beaten 3 lengths by Constitution Hill. Now, obviously, Constitution Hill, was that the real Constitution Hill we saw? And he was eased down close to the finish. But Charger was ridden quite quietly as well. I think with the ground drying is definitely going to suit him. Early on in the season, he's only beaten 4 lengths by Stateman. But, he's kind of ridden in behind. Didn't really come and challenge. How many... Did he have a hard race in the first half of the season, Charger? Probably not. And I thought it was a massive run from him at the age of 10 in the county hurdle on soft ground. That's not to his liking, to be only beaten 3 lengths by Favre off 155. That to me was a massive run. I think he's proved his well-being, and he seems to be thriving on his racing at the age of 10. And for me, I'd have him like 8-1. Not going to tell you back him each way with the 2 places, but you're getting the money back offer with Boylesports, and also in the betting without market, I would have him to follow Stateman home. I think Stateman, look, if he turns up and performs to his best, he'll win. He probably will have that easy lead in this contest as well. I think Colonel Mustard in here, he might potentially put pressure on him for the lead. But apart from that, unless Stateman underperforms, it's hard to see how he gets beaten. So that's the Champion Hurdle, 5:25. Let's move on. 6 o'clock, Mr. Groome, is the Champion Novice Hurdle over 2 miles and 3.5 furlongs. And I must say, I thought High Definition was slightly interesting here, especially once again with the offer of my money back as second to the SB favourite.
Yeah, potentially. He seemed to get a bit of pace today in Supreme and run on towards the end of the race. I'm not sure now. I think this
Imperial Pa
it just could be a monster. I mean, if we need more evidence, we got it yesterday with Gaelic Warrior absolutely bolting up. And that was a kind of slowly run 3 miles, and the speed that he showed over that trip just electrified his opponents out of it. There was no answer at all, and like he couldn't get within 7 lengths of Imperial Pa, won easily. I think this is pretty straightforward. Like, I like Champ.ie, don't get me wrong, big fan of him all season. He was a horrible ride for Danny in the Ballymore for some reason, wanted to hang the whole way. In theory, he should be better now going this direction, but he's had a longer kind of season, a long kind of hard season.
He has.
Started quite early, and Imperial Pa was only brought along a lot more slowly, made his debut at Nace around Christmas time, came here for the Moscow Flyer. And arguably, you could expect a better performance again here. He's only having his 4th run of the season. So
match betting purposes, or even in the betting without market here, just to mention High Definition. I mean, he's only had 3 starts over hurdles. He's only completed twice, and he finished 7th in the Supreme. That race just keeps working out. Obviously, Facile Vega comes out and wins snug and in the pocket. Obviously, would at Aintree. I think the form of that race, I think it'll turn out to be a good Supreme, and he's stepping up in trip. I think, look at what he's done on the flat as well. The distances he was racing over on the flat, I think stepping up in trip, this horse is going to be a better horse. 2.5 miles, 2 mile 3 here at Punchestown. The nicer ground is going to suit him as well. And I just think, they've obviously put the cheek pieces and tongue strap on for the first time. He is, I didn't think he was disgracing the Supreme, and he jumps out to his right. He does shift out to his right. So I'd have to think in a smaller field as well. I mean, the Supreme, there was plenty of pace on. He was up there. I know you said he got outpaced, but there was lots prominent in the Supreme. He might I wouldn't like to be giving this fella now his own way in front, given his class. And I just thought he was 10-1, double figure price versus 5-1 about Champ.ie. Certainly, I'd have him in the without market. And look, Imperial Pass definitely has the course form as well, and he looks an absolute monster. But just for betting purposes, 6:35 at Punchestown is the Hunter Chase, and look, not a massive strong opinion, but it's on the line. Was really like the race going to Cheltenham. Emmett Mullins' horse is obviously clearly in good form. This horse has only had 7 runs over fences and was only just beaten in the Hunter's Chase at the Cheltenham Festival. I think the nicer ground will probably suit, and a step back and trip to 3 mile. Obviously, Cheltenham was over the Gold Cup distance on softer ground. So it's on the line, would interest me slightly. But once again, Hunter Chase is not my scene, Mr. Groome, and I don't think you have much thoughts on this either, have you?
No, where's Steve when we need him? The Hunter Chase maestro. We need to give him a call. But no, I'll take a watching brief here.
7:10 at Punchestown. And one of your old flames in here, Mr. Groome, Arctic Brezel, tongue strap on for the first time. He was very disappointed in the Tolworth. You were talking Supreme Novice Hurdle for him. Can he recover?
Anyone's guess whether he can recover. It's a softly approach to him now, I guess. The reason I was interested in was I went down to Henry the Bromheads earlier in the season, and he was the kind of chatty horse down there. And there was a bit of laughing with the staff and stuff, and Henry was giving out to them for telling us and kind of that sort of thing. And there was a bit of vibes about him before that as well. Obviously, it hasn't gone to plan with that run in the Tolworth. Yeah, that was close enough to around the time of Plutard. Had disappointed travelling over as well, I think. So I don't know, they're on a bit of a recovery mission with him now, maybe thinking about next year, so they probably just want him to run well. It's a tricky kind of race. The French recruit for Mullins looks like it could be tidy enough, and Willie's obviously got a good record in the race. I won it with El Fabiolo last year, so no prices up yet, but that Sam Majest would probably be the one to beat when they do price it up.
I'd be very interested to see what price they make Spillane Tower, James Mangan's horse.
They backed that well the last day, didn't they? It was a Liza race down in Cork.
Correct, and this was a real eye catcher for me on its hurdles. Second run of a hurdles was only beaten ahead at Wexford by Imagine. So, early in the season, that was obviously on very deep ground, was a major eye catcher. We put him into the tracker on the Road to Cheltenham Challenge Series, and the horse won quite snug at Naas on yielding ground of a 2 mile 3 furlong. Obviously, he's stepping back and trip, was well supported last time. Look, on ratings, obviously, Monbeg Park, did he have the race taken off him at Fairyhouse? But he's been given an official rating of 137. On ratings, it means Spillane Tower is going to, obviously going to have to improve.
He's probably, in fairness, I probably jumped the gun there with Sam Majest. On that form, that Doyle horse would be hard to beat. And that race kind of working out well with Ballybon Belter and the Capo Glory running well here already. So if he runs that rating, I'd say he'd be difficult to beat.
I don't think we saw the real Imagine. Obviously, we had that fiasco at the start yesterday, but I just thought on the basis of that second run of a hurdles for Spillane Tower at Wexford, I think he's a smart horse, actually, Spillane Tower, and he's a horse that would just interest me. Luke Dempsey riding for James Mangan. Willie's horse, obviously, we haven't seen him since he won in France. But Spillane Tower for me would be a tentative selection. But I think he is smart, and I think there is more improvement to come from him. And interesting, they don't go for a handicap, they go for this, so they're going for it. So, that's the 7-10 contest and the bumper, Mr. Groome. I suppose you don't want me to come to you for the bumper, but just can I mention a horse here? Quantum Storm, number 16. We're going to see Ballyburn today. I would. How interesting. When we were recording yesterday, he was priced up at 18-1 Apples of Brazil. He's come into 7-2 for Barry Connell. So they must have been listing, Mr. Groome. But Ballyburn at the same time, look, I would be surprised if he doesn't go very, very close. Quantum Storm ran into Ballyburn at Punchestown on his first start and was only beaten 2 1/4 lengths. I thought it was a solid run for a first run on the racecourse for Gordon. But this horse was second and only beaten ahead in a point-to-point at Drumahan by a horse called Giovinco. Tracker alert yesterday at Perth. This horse, I haven't seen a horse win as easy for a long, long time. Now, I know it's Perth, I know it's Scotland, I know it's on good ground, and I know it's in April. But Giovinco, my lord, go back and watch that yesterday. That is a smart horse for Lucinda Russell. And went off a big price as well. So you wonder, was he even half wound up? Quantum Storm, obviously that's his point-to-point form. I thought at a course that he's run very well. And I thought, look, Harry Swan has taken £5 off. He's riding for Gordon here. Woody has plenty of firepower in here, but I just thought Quantum Storm was a nice sort and obviously went for a big fee as well. So in the 7:45, I would side with Quantum Storm. Anything kind of to add there?
No, I didn't even look at the race, so I'll pass. I'll follow you in there if I need to by the last, and Quantum Storm will be my get out clause.
There we go, Mr. Groome. That is episode number 51. We're heading for a century. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Like the video. And the support is, we're absolutely delighted with all the support. Of course, you're putting your selections in. And it's time for this week's draw, Mr. Groome.
Yeah, we should do our best bets as well.
And our best bets, we should, yeah, correct.
Thanks. I heard you gave Fast or Slow a good old mention on the Tannoy yesterday.
I did. Stevie Stevie Boyd is the winner. So just make sure we can see that on the screen for, as you call it.
Hold it up a bit closer so
as you can see, as you say, for transparency. Let's get that. Stevie Boyd, Champ.ie at gmail.com. Send us an email and we'll get your Boylesports account credited and get you that free bet. So that is kind of it, Ronan Groome, apart from the best bets. What are you going with for episode number 51 and day 4 to Punchestown Festival?
Listen, a tricky day. I haven't done a short price double now in about 10 years, but I wouldn't put anyone off the two Mullins hot pots now. Putting them together, I think they'll both be very hard bet. I don't know what that amounts to, close to 4 to 5 or something like that. But my best bet's definitely is going to be another Mullins horse, is Kilcrush in the novice handicap chase. I think he could be a class apart, back down in grade. So a tricky day. He's my best one.
Yeah, I'm finding Punchestown very, very tricky, but it's actually snap on this episode, Ronan Groome. I'm going to follow you in. My best bet is Kilcrush.
Oh, God, he's got no chance now, the two of us.
Kilcrush. That 7-2 is more than fair. I could see him going off closer to 2-1 now.
Well, when you see Hador went off 11-10 or something in his handicap chase, yeah, So
yeah, Kilcrush for me as well. And so let us know your selections. All 8 selections down below. 3 winners or more enters the draw. We'll be back tomorrow morning, Mr. Groome, to preview day 5 of the Punchestown Festival. Of course, Saturday, Family Day, is Saturday. So looking forward to it. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Inside the 550 yards, this is a special year, and it's a hands full of grace. And it's Energumene opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2-mile novices. Energumene by.
Download the Boylesports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boylesports, this is betting.